Hello friends, a very good morning to you all. I am Prashant. I welcome you to Educational Stuff. In this video, we will be discussing regarding the article which was published in the Hindu Editorial. This particular article is regarding the Persian Gulf littoral and India's interest, how it would be served as stability in the region to be ensured the way. Today is the 8th June. This is only the first article discussion. If you want to see the rest of the article discussion, you can see it from the description link or from the eye icon. Before we get into this article, we'll have some idea regarding what is Persian Gulf. This particular area which is in the map is Persian Gulf, which is surrounded by 8 countries: Qatar, United Arab Emirates, Bahrain, Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, Iran. These are the 8 countries. The Persian Gulf is surrounded by 8 countries. So these countries have the coastal line of this Persian Gulf. So that's why these countries share the border. The lands around it are shared by Oman, Qatar, Saudi Arabia, United Arab Emirates, and all members of United Nations. There is a commonality of interest among them in being the major producers of crude oil and natural gas, and thereby contributing critically to the global economy and to their own prosperity. This has added to their global political significance. At the same time, turbulence has often characterized in their intersea political relations. A framework for 8 decades prior, in 1970, this body of water was closely guarded by British Lake, administered in a good measure by imperial civil servants from India. When the era ended, regional players sought to assert themselves. Imperatives of rivalry and cooperation became evident, and as the United States Department report put in 1973, the upshot of all the cross countries or the cross currents is that the logic of Saudi-Iranian cooperation is being undercut by psychological, nationalistic and prestige factors which are likely to persist for a long time. The Nixon and Carter doctrines were the logical outcomes to ensure American hegemony. An early effort of collective security attempted by the conference in Muscat in 1975 was thwarted by British Iraq. The Iranian Revolution put an end to the one pillar approach and disturbed the strategic WC blank. The Iran-Iraq war enhanced US interest and role. Many moons and much bloodshed later, it was left to the Security Council to Resolution 598 to explore the measures to enhance the security and stability in the region. Any framework for this stability and security thus needs to answer a set of questions. The questions are: security for whom, by whom, against whom, for what purpose the security is. Is there a requirement in local, regional or global terms? Does it require an extra regional agency? Given the historic content or context, one recalls a Saudi scholar's remark in 1990s, the Gulf region security was an external issue long before it was an issue from the Gulf states themselves. The essential ingredients of such frameworks would thus be to ensure conditions of peace and stability in individual littoral states. Freedom to all states of Gulf littoral to exploit the hydrocarbon and other natural resources and export them. Freedom of commercial shipping in international waters of Persian Gulf. Freedom to access and outlet from Gulf waters through Strait of Hormuz. Prevention of conflict that may impinge on freedom of trade and shipping. Prevention of emergence of conditions that may impinge one of these considerations. Could such framework be self-sustaining or require external guarantees for their operational success? If the latter, what should be its parameters? The GCC and the US links. For the past 2 decades have re-evaluated William Fulbright's observation that statesmen often confuse a great power with total power and great responsibility with total responsibility. The war in Iraq and its aftermath testify to it. The US efforts to contain the Iranian revolutionary forces, supplemented by the effort of Arab states of the littoral, that is except Iraq, through the instrumentality of Gulf Cooperation Council or GCC, in May 1981 to coordinate, cooperate and integrate or to serve the sublime objectives of the Arab nation, including initially met with the success in some functional fields and lack of its wider objectives. In the meantime, geopolitical factors and conflicts elsewhere in the West Asia region, Yemen, Syria, Libya, aggravated global and regional relationship and hampered a modus vivendi in US-Iran relations that was to be premised on the multilateral agreement on Iran's nuclear program agreed by the Western powers and the Obama administration, but disowned by US President Donald Trump, whose stringent policies have taken a region to brink of armed conflict. Perceptions of declining US commitment to sub-regional security have been articulated in the recent months amid hints of changing priorities. This is reported to have caused disquiet in some, perhaps all, members of GCC, the hub of whose security concerns remain pivoted on the Iranese threat that is political and ideological rather than territorial, and American insurance to it based on the convergence of interests in which oil trade, arms purchases, etc. have the role along with the wider US, the regional global determinants, and evolving transformation. It is evident that the common GCC threat perception has not evolved over the time and has been hampered by the emergence of conflicting tactical and strategic interests and subjective considerations. The current division with the organization are therefore here to stay. These have been aggravated by the global economies, the immediate and longer impact of COVID-19 on regional economies, the problem in the organization and the petroleum exporting countries, that is OPEC, and decline in oil prices. One credible assessment done recently suggests that the emerging shape of the region, that is Saudi Arabia, is fading power. UAE, Qatar and Iran are emerging as the new regional leaders, and Oman and Iraq will have to struggle to retain their sovereign identities. The GCC is effectively ended and OPEC is becoming irrelevant as the oil policy moves to be tripiate global condominium. None of this will necessarily happen overnight, and external intervention could interfere the unexpected ways. But it is fair to say that Persian Gulf was, as we know, for at least 3 generations in the midst of the fundamental transformation, with the Arab League entombed and the GCC on life support system. The Arab states of this sub-region are left to individual devices to explore working arrangements with Iraq and Iran. The imperatives of these are different, but a movement of both is discernible. With Iran in particular, and notwithstanding the animosities of the past, pragmatic approaches of the recent months seem to bear fruit. Oman has always kept its lines of communication with Iran open, that is, Kuwait and Qatar have done likewise, but in a quieter vein, and now the UAE had initiated pragmatic arrangements. These could set the stage for wider water dialogue. Both Iran and GCC states would benefit from the formal commitment to the arrangement incorporation of 6 points listed, so that every outside nation that had a trading and economic interest in the Gulf, this could be sanctified by the global convention. Record shows the alternative of exclusive security arrangement promotes armament drives, enhances insecurity and aggravates regional tensions. It unavoidably opens the door for greater power interference. What are regarding India's ties? How India perceives these developments and how do they impact our strategy, interests and concerns? Locating the Persian Gulf littoral with a reference to India is an exercise in geography and history. The distance from Mumbai to Basra is 1526 nautical miles, and from Bandar Abbas and Dubai are in the radius of 1000 nautical miles. The bilateral relations, economic and political, with the GCC has blossomed in the recent year. The government are friendly, India friendly and Indian friendly, and appreciate the benefits of wide-ranging relationship. This is well reflected in a bilateral trade of $121 billion and remittances of $49 billion from the workforce of over 9 million. GCC suppliers account for around 34% of our crude imports, and national oil companies in Saudi Arabia and Abu Dhabi are partners in $44 billion investment in the Ghent Ratnagiri oil refinery. In addition, Saudi Aramco is reported to take 20% stake in Reliance Oil, the chemical businesses. The current adverse impact of the pandemic on our economic relations with GCC countries have now become a matter of concern. The relationship with Iraq, complex at all time and more so recently on account of American pressure, has economic, political and geopolitical relevance on account of its actual and lead role of Pakistan and Afghanistan. Iran, also neighbors of Turkey and some other countries of Central Asia, the Caspian Sea region, its size, political, or potential economic resources cannot be wished away regionally and globally, but have harnessed for wider goods. India had eschewed involvement in local and regional disputes. India's interest does not entail power projection. They necessitate in their totality peace and regional stability, freedom of navigation and access to the region's markets in terms of trade, technology and manpower resources. Indian interest would be served at its stability if ensured through cooperative security, since the alternative competitive security options cannot ensure the durable peace. This is regarding the Persian Gulf littoral cooperative security key. India's interests would be best served in the stability in the region ensured this way. This particular article is penned by Hamid Ansari, who is a former Vice President of India, whose tenure is 2007 to 2017. Before I conclude, I request you all to subscribe to my channel and comment how did you feel this video. This is the end of first article discussion. If you want to see the rest of the article, you can see it from the I icon or from the description link. Thanks for joining me. Have a great day.